great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
Good morning, a beautiful and bright morning it is this Monday morning, and you're tuned into the Business Morning Live Show right here on BusinessDay Television. And as usual, we've got a packed morning ahead for you, starting off with the morning news. We then move to the newspaper review. We'll bring you the conversations on the show and wrap up with the social listening and, of course, the Business Week with Frank Igbogo. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you the morning news. To stay with us. Welcome to the BusinessDay Business Live News. I am Deborah Eze. Let's see what's making the headlines. Adeleke reaffirms Tinubu's support after Osun re-election. Pension remittances fall 38% to 559 billion naira in first quarter of 2026. BRICS explores linking payment systems and digital currencies. And US ends temporary protection for 4 African nationalities. Let's begin the news. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has reaffirmed his support for President Bola Tinubu's bid for a second term in 2027, shortly after securing re-election in Saturday's governorship election. Adeleke, who was declared winner in the early hours of Sunday, polled 511,067 votes to defeat APC candidate Bola Oyebamiji, who scored 444,815 votes. He won in 19 of the state's 30 local government area. Speaking after his victory, Adeleke commended President Tinubu for what he described as his support for a free and fair election, referring to the president as a son of Osun State. The governor said his endorsement of Tinubu for the 2027 presidential election remains unchanged, despite having contested the Osun governorship election on the platform of the Accord Party. And moving on, Nigeria's pension contribution under the contributory pension scheme fell by 38% to 559.4 billion naira in the first quarter of 2026, reflecting a significant decline in pension remittances. The drop comes as the pension industry continues to deal with challenges around employer compliance and the timely remittance of workers' contributions. PENCOM has previously identified employer-related errors and irregular schedules among the factors leaving contributions uncredited to workers' retirement savings account. The decline in quarterly contributions comes despite continued expansion of Nigeria's pension industry, whose total assets stood at about 30 trillion naira at the end of March 2026, and the figures are likely to renew concerns over pension compliance and the ability of the system to consistently secure retirement savings for Nigerian workers. And in other news, BRICS countries are exploring ways to connect their instant payment systems and central bank digital currencies to make cross-border transactions faster and cheaper. Reserve Bank of India Governor Sanjay Malhotra said discussions are still at an early stage, with several options being considered, including linking existing fast payment networks and creating interoperability between CBDCs. The proposal is aimed at reducing the cost and delays associated with international transfers, particularly for retail payment. India's UPI, which enables near-instant domestic transactions, has been cited as a potential model for improving cross-border payment infrastructure. The initiative could deepen financial integration among BRICS economies and increase the use of local currencies in cross-border trade and payment, although there is no agreed framework or implementation timeline yet. And to end the news, the Trump administration has ended temporary protected status (TPS) for nationals of Cameroon, Ethiopia, Somalia, and South Sudan living in the United States, putting affected migrants at greater risk of deportation. TPS allows eligible nationals of countries facing armed conflict, disasters, or other extraordinary conditions to remain and work legally in the U.S. temporarily. The latest move forms part of Trump's administration's broader rollback of the humanitarian immigration program. For Somalia, the determination took effect on August 14, 2026, while South Sudan's protection ended on August 7th. The policy shift could leave thousands of affected nationals without protection from deportation if they do not have another lawful immigration status, and amid continued legal challenges over several of the terminations. And that does it this morning on the news. Up next is the newspaper review. Do stay with us.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Day. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doric is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All welcome, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Day. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine. I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
Looking for fast and reliable answers to your business and economic questions? Meet SIA, Business Day's Strategic Intelligence Assistant, Nigeria's first AI-powered news chatbot. Simply visit businessday.ng, click the SIA chat icon, and ask your question in plain language. Whether it's inflation, market trends, company insights, government policies, or personal finance, SIA delivers instant answers powered by Business Day's trusted journalism. Smarter insights, faster decisions. Visit businessday.ng today and discover the future of business intelligence with SIA.
Welcome back. This is the newspaper review segment of the Business Morning Live Show, where we explore the major stories making headlines across the nation's newspaper. I am Deborah Eze. And of course, I'm not doing it alone this wonderful Monday morning. Joining me to analyze the headline is
Joshua Pass.
Hello.
Good morning,
Joshua Pass. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Deborah. I don't know why you've been skipping my name lately. It was really good. I had a good weekend.
Good.
Yeah. Do you want details? All right, let's take a look at what the dailies are saying this morning. We're going to be starting off with the Business Day newspaper. Then we move to the Guardian, the Punch newspaper, Vanguard, and also we wrap up with the cartoon of the day.
Yeah.
Now, kicking off with the Business Day newspaper this morning, the big story on the front page reads, "The long road to Geregu power shock. The power shock bond default." And I think that's like a bit of an explainer to how it all started from July 2022 down to the 2nd of August of July, I beg your pardon, 2026. There's an infograph to that story explaining it, and also, to get it up of that story, you have to grab the Business Day newspaper this morning, and you can get that story on page 31 of the Business Day newspaper. And of course, we have BOI's 250 billion naira development bond oversubscribed in 5 days. And that story is on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper. At the top of the Business Day newspaper, of course, the dancing governor Adeleke retains Osun State a second term. And that is on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper. And then the offshore revival drives 20% surge in oil rig count. That story is on page 31 of the Business Day newspaper. And finally, on the Business Day newspaper, we have Nigeria's economy set for fastest Q2 growth in 5 years. And that is on page 31 of the Business Day newspaper. So should we start off with the dancing governor?
Let's talk about the review and PLC. And it's the writer Depot has done a great deal of job, taking readers through how it all started and leading to 2026, what we now see as the failure of the group to honor its obligation to its creditors, because to the bond that's the issue. But where for me it gets more interesting is in 2025 when a company called MAM Energies Limited reportedly owned former governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, a well-known politician, take a share in the company called Amperion, and then of course becoming the having a controlling share, and then of course also directly having a controlling share in the Girigu. And then of course we see in January this year that company they pay shareholders. In fact, when it was under the previous management, last year they pay shareholders about 8 naira a share. But this year they raised it to 8 naira 50 kobo, something like that. And of course, coming down to July, we see that they were unable to meet the application to their creditors. Now, what am I trying to say here? And sometimes I was going through the story, and of course, it was at that point when Amperion, Abdulaziz, Zamfara State, came in and became a controlling share in that the former management under Otedola pull out. And then, of course, you record that Otedola sold these shares and then move out. And of course, we then see coming to 2026 where another to pay this. Sometimes just, I don't know, Nigerian politicians, I don't know, I don't want to say, but sometimes one could say that politicians always are politicians, but let me leave that apart. But the point what I'm trying to make is that whereas they were able to pay their shareholders dividends, okay, they were unable to keep their obligation to their creditors. I would have thought, that in my view, that it would have been better, to discharge your obligation to your creditors. Shareholders are the owners of the company, part owners of the company, right? And so sometimes for me, they could endure whatever it is for some time, to be able to I would have thought that the priority would have been to pay your creditors. You know why? Because failure to pay your creditor will impact negatively on the image of the company, as we are not having it right now. And not only the image of the company, but the power sector, is still struggling. It's one sector that lacks liquidity. And so for people to have bought stake their money when they issue that bond, for creditors to have stake, investors to have stake their money, expecting to for the company to keep running part, and then coming to a point where they have not been able to fulfill that obligation to their creditors. it's not only having impact negatively on the company, it's also having impact negatively on the power sector. Because what will now happen is that other investors will now be looking at, for instance, if another company in the power sector, comes forward to issue a bond, so basically issue a bond to borrow money to grow the company, expand the company. People might be, investors might be skeptical. They might be saying, oh, I mean, like what has happened to Geregu? Because in any case, Geregu was the first actually, power company in that sector to approach the bond market. So it was this, enthusiasm on the part of investors, and they still their money. And of course, then now we're coming to the fact that they haven't been able to, discharge that obligation of paying their creditors. So it creates a negative image, for the company. And of course, there's also some kind of consequences within that sector. And so because investors will now be, watching. So that very important sector in the economy that needs that money, that needs that investment, because that power sector, there's so much that, that should be invested in the power sector. Because, and of course, don't also forget the power sector is very critical to this economy. So for this default, it's not good for the sector. In fact, it's not also good for the country. It's not also good for the company itself. But I believe somehow they'll be able to, restructure the loan, and then eventually they'll be able to move on. But it's just this is what shouldn't have happened in the first place. Yeah.
All right, a big one, Dipo actually broke it down, reading through the story
from
where it all started, because I know people have been hearing Geregu, and I'm sure, readers and listeners do not really have an understanding of, where we got to the point where Geregu got to the point where it is right now. Yes, defaulting in the payment. But for you to get a hold of that story, you have to grab a copy of the BusinessDay newspaper.
An interesting story.
Yes, of course.
People need to,
of course,
BusinessDay and read, or maybe you read online.
All right, and one other story on the BusinessDay, that's Adeleke retaining the Osun seat as for the second term. What's your take on that?
This one election that we discussed Osun election prior to the election proper on Saturday. We had a discussion around Osun election, even on my program Reflections Nigeria. And one thing that stood out very, very clear to us in the build up to the election was the level of violence that we saw, in Osun State. But thank God on Saturday we did not see killings, like we saw prior to the election, because it was largely peaceful. But interestingly too, the turnout was also very impressive.
Yeah.
We saw old women, we saw old men, we saw 90-something, we saw old body. I even saw a man that was said to be 104, coming out, wanting to vote. So the people of Osun State really stood very strongly behind Adeleke, and of course got re-elected. But of course there are things that happened prior to that election that we must point out. Have the factors that we could see.
I think we'll talk about the factors later, but I want us to talk about the margin between Oyebamiji and Adeleke. The margin wasn't really a lot. If you really look at it. I think Adeleke won in 19 local government and Oyebamiji won in 11 local government.
Yes.
Do you think that there would have been a chance that the people of Osun State actually believe that Oyebamiji would have been a better candidate, a better, governor than Adeleke? This is me trying to play devil's advocate.
Well, it depends on who you are talking to in Osun State. I'm not an indigenous of Osun State. But if you talk to people...
I'm talking to the political scientist himself.
If you look at, it was very clear. If you've been following the trend, following what people are saying, following even analysts, beyond myself, and other analysts who were not without bias, it was very clear that Adeleke was going to
win.
maybe somehow he was able to find connection with these people. Maybe the dancing, maybe I don't know. That might. But again, I'm told that he has also done quite a lot in terms of infrastructure.
True.
That is also helping people. And then again, like I was, you can't actually discuss this election without actually also discussing the factors that must have given victory to Adeleke. You know, there was at some point some kind of sympathy vote. You know, of course, because there was so much of intimidation. You recall the EFCC, you know, trying to freezing the account before the president called them to unfreeze the account. You know, the deployment of the police, 30 commissioners of police, 15,000 police personnel, 10,000, you know, civil defense. The military were there. Of course, I must also give credit to kudos to the security personnel. I think. They
were able to contain the election well.
They behaved well. I mean, so, but again, it is what it is. He has won.
Right.
But of course, APC is saying that they will challenge. They are studying the result with the intent to probably challenge it in the court of law. But let's see how it goes. But there are people who will tell you that if you conduct that election, if it's a free and fair election, you
don't have
10
to
times, Adeleke will win 10 times. You know.
Right.
So, of course,
with the whole controversy that happened after the election, I want to make controversy. That is, we understand how Nigerians actually feel about the All Progressive Congress, you know, and immediately Adeleke won. He came out to actually reaffirm his stand to supporting the president for a second term. Do you really think that if a re-election was done, it would still win based on that stance?
You know, of course, you know, he could win. It's about him, what he has done in the state. That's what people are looking at.
Right.
Himself, it was very clear. He said the president is from Osun State and that he will support him. But of course, don't forget that before the election, he has said that he was supporting the president.
Yeah, that I said he reaffirmed.
So he's reaffirming his support for the president. There are people who are, of course, I've also seen people who are disappointed by the fact that you are coming again to reaffirm your support for the president, despite what
happened.
Federal might, as it were, you know, deployed to Australians and all of that. There are people who feel that, look, I mean, you don't have to. But I've also seen people who have also come out to say that because the Minister of Aviation and the Aerospace Development, Festus, also said that agreement is agreement. So Adeleke coming out to say that he's affirming support for President Tinubu in 2027. It means that he is keeping to an agreement that was reached. That's what people are understanding that to be. But of course, there are people in the Accord Party who have come out to say there is no agreement between us and you in the APC.
It's a personal thing.
So whatever, by the governor. There's no agreement anymore.
You know, when we had the Ekiti state election, that was supposed to be a litmus test of how INEC is going to conduct, you know, the general election coming in January. But I think Osun State gave like a proper, you know, overview, because like the factors that you mentioned, with all the factors that we saw, like you said, they were able to like contain it. So do you think, because we can't talk about your Osun State election without speaking about INEC, do you think INEC actually did a good one and we can actually expect the general election to actually come out better, if not as good as how the Osun State election came out?
Seriously, I want to believe so. With what we've seen in the Osun on Saturday, I want to believe that INEC is prepared, and that if there are no, if there is no external influence, that INEC can actually deliver.
Right.
You know, but the problem is always, you know, people, maybe some people in authority, you know, trying to influence what INEC should do. But if INEC is allowed to truly be independent, as indicated in its name, independent, and is allowed to do its job independently without anybody anywhere influencing them, and without the security personnel, you know, intimidating people, and then the influence of Togri, talks, because we also saw some skirmishes in Osun State. We've seen where people went to disrupt voting, scaring people away. We saw where people ran away from the voting point and they could not actually cast them. If all of those factors are, contained and then they are removed from our election, and INEC is allowed to do its job properly, I want to believe that 2027 could be better.
No, we also had issues of beavers not working, and I'm wondering why.
No, those are issues that INEC can address. Yeah,
all right,
those are not external.
Of
factors.
course, that's
something that's within their control that they can handle. Yeah.
All right, let's now move on to the Punch newspaper. The big story on the Punch newspaper this morning reads: Adeleke, still the Osun poll victory. Adeleke extends olive branch. APC molds tribunal challenge. And the riders to the story: Tinubu hails Adeleke, commends INEC, security agencies for credible poll. Another rider, article: Obi Kwankwaso salutes governor on re-election, congratulate Osun voters. And still on the rider to the big story, APC says tribunal will be explored as lawyers review poll results from 332 wards. And we have a graph of the Osun poll results between the Accord and APC and also the local government that each of them won. And we see that Accord had a total of 511,067, while APC had 444,815. Not a lot of margin, if you ask me.
But of course, it's actually
it's wider than
the previous.
Than the previous one
when they won the last.
Yeah. And of course, below the Punch newspaper, we have banks fintech flag 42,082 suspicious transactions to NFIU, and that story is on page 31 of the Punch newspaper. And also, Osun woman found dead with severed hand inside church, and that is on page 5. At the top of the Punch newspaper, El-Rufai demands family access. 10 billion naira damage from ICPC, and that is on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, on the Punch newspaper, Tinubu bets on PH Warri refineries despite Obasanjo's doubt, and that is on page 31 of the BusinessDay newspaper. And of course, all of the dailies this morning.
Punch newspaper.
Yeah, this is the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, I beg your pardon. All of the dailies this morning will definitely speak about the dancing governor victory, and we can see the big picture of him happy. I think he's really a jolly good fellow, and on top of that, I would say he's a working man, and he actually deserves, the victory. Let's speak about this Tinubu bet on PH Warri refinery, despite Ambassador's doubts about
very interesting story. But before we speak on that, Deborah, let me quickly, say something about the president calling the governor, the re-elected governor of Osun State, delegate to congratulate. I think that was state-manly. I think we must commend that call by the president, because that call, we are told, was done even before the final result, was declared, before Adeleke was officially declared winner of that election by INEC. The president put a call across and they congratulate him. I think that should be encouraged, notwithstanding all of the things that we saw before that election itself, election proper, because there were insinuations, of course, that the president was bent on taking Osun State. But of course, whether he was or whether he was not, but the fact that he called to congratulate the elected governor, I think that is commendable.
Right.
Now the story on the president betting on the Port Harcourt and Warri refineries, despite President Obasanjo's doubt. We spoke about this last week. The president is believing, or whatever they will do, misbelieving that Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery can come back on stream and begin to function and begin to refine again. And don't forget that these refineries, the other two, there's another one in the Kaduna, there's one in the We have 3 in Port Harcourt,
Port Harcourt.
actually, so then there's 1 in Warri. So 4 of them publicly owned Nigerian refineries, which for many years have not been working. So, but while the president is betting on them to, work again and then come back and then produce and refine and all of that, so we can truly get the benefit of those refineries, we must also say that about over $2 billion have been reportedly spent to get these refineries working again. Yes, I think that there's the need for the president or the government to actually investigate how that money was spent, because this is public fund, so if that much was spent on those refineries, especially during the era of the immediate past administration of may so rest in peace, Muhammadu Buhari, under the leadership of Kyari, the past group managing director of NNPC, it should be proved. The government should investigate. They should tell us how that money was spent and why, after spending so much, those refineries are not working.
Yeah.
So it's not enough just to say that, yeah, the president is, whatever he's going to do to get them working again, fine, it's good. But we must not lose sight of the fact that so much of Nigerians' money was spent. And there are allegations that, some people pocketed billions of naira. So, if this is true, then the president should deepen investigation, and then people found culpable should be brought to book. Right. So that to serve as a deterrent, so that if you are appointed, if you are given opportunity to fix or to do anything, then that people are looking, people are watching, and so you can do it diligently, knowing that it's public fund, for God's sake. It's not people should not turn public fund into
their personal money. All right, let's now move to the Guardian newspaper. The big story on the Guardian newspaper this morning, still speaking about the Austrian politics, and opposition victory relieves people power, raises stake for APC in 2027. And that story is on page 6. We also have an infograph of the Austrian State's global election results 2026, where we have the total valid votes, the top 3 candidates and other candidate votes, and also the results for the Accord Party, the APC, and the ADC. And of course, still on the Guardian newspaper, gunmen kill 4 in Benue as troops repel attack on Borno military base, and that is on page 9. And El-Rufai files fresh 10 billion naira suit against ICPC for allegedly denying family access to him. But are they supposed to deny,
Yeah, that's one interesting story. I think that we should, say one or two things about.
All right.
The El-Rufai filing a fresh 10 billion naira suit against ICPC for allegedly, denying his family access. It's quite unfortunate, because I believe that whatever it is, El-Rufai has not been convicted. So whether we like it or not, whether ICPC likes it, whether the government likes it or not, as we speak, El-Rufai is still innocent until a competent court of
guilty.
A competent court finds him guilty. That's when we can then say, okay, the court has sentenced you to 1 year or 2 year or 3 year imprisonment. Then therefore go and serve your prison term. As it is today, to keep him away from his family and to continue to keep him in detention, I believe it's not the best. It's kind of infringing on his fundamental human rights. Which is not good in a democracy. We are not in a military government. Even under the military government, certain things that we have seen in this democracy, we didn't see them as bad, during the military era. But we are not in the military era, So I believe that if his family should be given access to see him. His doctors should be given access to see him. And in fact, above that, I mean, there should be, he's entitled to, you can grant him bail, you know, let him be coming, if the case has gone to, he can be coming from his home to court. Any day he's supposed to appear in court. Right, just keeping him there without allowing his family to see him, I think that it's not good enough for us as a democratic nation.
Still on the Guardian newspaper, article has asked the president to stop blaming past governments for refineries woes, and that is on page 3. And also on the Ocean Polls, Makinde, NDF, ADC, HURIWA, Yaga Africa congratulates Adeleke, and that is on page 3. And resident doctors unveil new work regulation to check burnout, and that is on page 3. And ASU rallies federal government to lecturers' grievances, welfare demand, and that is on page 8. And we have ministry partners, states, private sector on livestock transformation, and that is also on page 8. And I'm still on the Guardian newspaper. At the top of it, we have EFCC recovers $60 million in ongoing Nest Oil investigation. And finally, BOI's median development bond oversubscribed in 5 days. And that is on page 2. It's a good thing that the resident doctors now are looking for a way to actually check out burnout, because that is one of the problems that the medical sector in Nigeria actually has, and that is why we get to lose so many doctors in the course of work. And this is actually a good one. ASU, let's talk about ASU. Every year,
I mean, for some time now
we didn't hear anything.
We've had respite from ASU, because it's always strike. Force a student to go spend 6 months. I recall under Buhari, there was ASU was the universities were shut down. Public universities were shut down for 9 months.
9 months.
One of the longest. So whatever it is, I mean, because ASU's demand, I don't know how to describe it, because we always see ASU, threatening strike going on. But somehow, I mean, it's been a long while that we saw them, threatening to. But again, it's coming up again. I think the federal government should try and see what they can do immediately to avoid a situation where ASU will go on strike and then leaving the student stranded. This will not be in the interest of the nation, neither will it be in the interest of the lecturers themselves, or even the student. I think there's a need for federal government to quickly intervene and step in and see how they can meet them halfway. I mean, because their demand, ASU's demand, is always a very long one. So they can meet halfway. I mean, a little to the left, a little to the right, and then see at the middle point where they can, quickly resolve whatever it is so that they avoid,
going on strike again. All right, let's move to the Vanguard newspaper. What do we have on the Vanguard? And the Vanguard is telling us why Adeleke won again in Osun. Very interesting. And the writers, we have division in the APC, Governor Adeleke's regular payments of salaries, INEC's conduct, prompt upload of results in IREV. Adeleke declares no victor, no vanquished, and clashes with Keyamo over support for Tinubu. And all of that is on page 5. And we have imports choke textile industry rise to 1.1 trillion naira in 2 years. As Senate pushes total import ban. And the rider that we have, man cautions against blanket restriction. Textile manufacturers demand stronger protection, revive local production instead of import ban, and that's by CPPA. And also 2027, I am not bothered about spare tire tag for VPs, and that is coming from Kwankwaso, and that is on page 8. and opposition parties must bury egos to defeat APC in 2027. And that's from Duke, and that is on page 10. And concession of King's College, parents mobilized for protest, and that is on page 10 also. And ranching plan sparks war, fresh war between Governor Alia PDP and Governor Alia and PDP, and that is on page 29. And at the top of the Vanguard newspaper, we have EFCC recovers 60 million US dollars in ongoing Nest Oil investigation. Okay, that's it on the Vanguard newspaper. I think the big story there, apart from the election, is the import on textile industry.
You know, there was a time in this country, Deborah, where the textile industry, used to be one of the biggest employers of labor. But unfortunately, it is no longer so now. So we've allowed, bad management of the economy, importation to take over what used to be one of the biggest, employers of labor in this country. So I recall in those days, you see people, there was this company along Eric Moore, and then there was this other one around Aswani, Oshodi around. Then if you go to a place like Kaduna, the textile industry were all over the place, employing people. But it's no longer so. So we are now depending more on the textile, imported textile. As much as 1.1 trillion in 2 years, choking the local industry. But I would not advocate for total ban of imported textile material. But I think there should be some level of regulation, and then some level of support to the textile, local textile manufacturers, so as to keep the economy,
afloat,
going, particularly for the sake of employment, because we have a lot of people who roaming in the street without jobs. And so if some level of support that the government can bring in here to support them, of course, they could still be import, because we probably may not have capacity to actually, take care of our needs, our textile needs. So there could be some level, but again, the way to do it may be higher, import duty on the imported textile material to raise the percentage of duty imposed to discourage import. But of course, people will still bring it in, because there are people who are diehard lovers of foreign stuff, foreign textile material. So, but you can put a higher tax on it, but again, find a way to encourage local textile manufacturing for the sake of job and for the sake of strengthening the economy.
Well said. Well said. Let's now conclude the newspaper review with the cartoon of the day. Let's take a look at what the cartoon of the day is saying this morning, and we can see missiles of war, but this time around it says missile of hunger. Missile of hunger, original APC rise to war ed. And someone said, if it's time to launch the missiles, ensure they land at the grassroots for maximum votes. Does this mean it is time for rice sharing? Rice for all? I'll give you 2 derica of rice and then you vote me? Is this what it's saying?
The way Nigerian politicians have carried on, Deborah, is that, they've weaponized poverty.
Of course, but that's like the only thing you can weaponize. Yeah.
And because they made the people so poor, manage the economy, it is easy for them to come during election
and share handouts.
A quarter of a bag of rice, or something far even smaller, because we saw what they were sharing in Osun State. Just very tiny bags of rice they were sharing to people, and then adding a few cash, and then telling them to swear
that they would.
Someone was now saying that if you don't vote, if you collect this, and if you don't vote for this party, it will not be well with you. I mean, that's appalling.
For one day, rice. Oh my goodness!
It's so shameful. Asukwa is known for this.
Yes,
a great job.
A very great job.
The message really is that, look, politicians, stop weaponizing poverty. People can get. I mean, don't take advantage of people's poverty.
Yeah.
To get them to do your bidding as far as election is
concerned. All right. Thank you for joining us in the studio this morning. That's all that we can take for the newspaper review segment. Up next is the Business Week. Do stay with us.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
For 25 years, BusinessDay has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, BusinessDay now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new BusinessDay website today and experience the future of news.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dory is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to huge organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
It's good to have you, Mr. Yomi Onubero.
Thank you so very much.
And let me congratulate you again on your appointment as the CEO of Deloitte West Africa.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about our appointment now. what's the expectations when it comes to the appointment to your clients, business alike, and also the stakeholders, regulators? What exactly is the expectation from your appointment?
Well, thank you so very much. So at Deloitte, we say we are AI powered and human led. And what that means is that as an organization, we want to support our clients, our people, and the country at large in leveraging the capabilities that we have within our organizations. Deloitte is the leading global professional services provider by far. It's a $74 billion business with 500,000 people, spread all around the world. And so we've got capabilities across different specialties, right? From tech to AI, to data, to cyber, to just different spectrum of financial advisory capability that clients do need. So my role and what it means to the client is being able to leverage all of those capabilities, bringing expertise within the local market, within the broader Deloitte Africa, which Deloitte Nigeria and West Africa is a member of, and more importantly from within the global network of the firm, to supporting all that our clients really need to achieve. So we're here as enabler, we're here as strategic partners to help our clients achieve their strategic ambitions.
Right, very brilliant. I must say, amazing session you had during the panel session, and you really had lots of insightful, comment to make about that panel session. But what advice, in few words, do you have for CEOs that are actually trying to navigate this economic bandwidth right now? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I think if I can sum it in one, I think many businesses will make do and will benefit significantly from having strategic advisors to help them navigate all of the bottlenecks that we have. There's just so much that organizations need to deal with, from the barriers to the constraint to the regulation, while still ensuring they focus on their business. And so what successful organizations have done is to ensure that they focus on their core operations, core business, core capabilities, but ensuring that they leverage the skill and the expertise of advisors who've got the strength and the breadth and the specialty to handhold them and help them navigate all of the constraints and all of the challenges. So if I can sum it in one, that would be it, because operating in an environment like Nigeria can be quite challenging. Opportunities are massive. However, navigating and getting through to the end of the game can be very tough. Capital is available, but how accessible, how affordable? Skills are sometimes a challenge. What do you need to do to get them trained, to get them equipped? There are a lot of regulatory risks that you need to deal with. So becoming experts in many of those domains can be very challenging for businesses. So when businesses do that, they have very less time to focus on their own core operations, which is their own primary domain. So my advice, reserve all of your strength and all of your energy to focus on your own primary domain, but make sure that you get strategic advisors and partners to help you through, working in this environment like Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yomilungwero, for stopping by, and congratulations again on your appointment.
Thank you so very much, and I'm really pleased to be here. Fantastic conversation. We didn't have time to go through all of the sessions, but very stimulating. I love what BusinessDay is doing, and we're very proud that you stayed the course for a quarter of a century, and running this show for the 14th consecutive time is something really commendable. So my appreciation to the population, Frank, and to all of you who are supporting the process.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much for joining. Let's begin with the big picture, really. How would you assess the state of Nigeria's oil and gas industry today, particularly in terms of production, in the investment, revenue, and energy scarcity, security, all of these things? How would you assess it?
Yes, if you could remember that post-COVID, that our crude oil production actually went down. There was a time that we would say sometime around 2021, 2022, till some part of 2023, we were producing 700,000 barrels of crude per day because we had issues that were bordering on oil theft, pipeline vandalizations, and all that. But over time, this has been significantly, brought back to somewhere around 1,700 barrels per day. And for us, that is quite commendable. And also, if you also do an assessment of the oil and gas industry in the last few years, you are going to realize that there have been some trickling of investment that has come in for foreign direct investment. Indirect investment has come into that sector. And if you also remember that about 5 years ago, passed the Petroleum Industry Act. So that act also contributed to some level of growth we have seen in the sector. But for us, are we supposed to be where we are in terms? After the PIA was passed, the answer clearly is a no. Are we where we ought to be in terms of crude production? The answer clearly is a no. But have we made significant progress since the pipeline vandalization started and since the crude oil theft started? The answer clearly is a yes. So it's a mixed bag.
Right. Let's also talk about how Nigeria spends huge sums on rehabilitating its 4 government-owned refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna. Why is it that despite this massive investment over the years, we've still struggled to get these refineries operating sustainably?
Yes. So, those refineries, as you rightly said, some amount of money was invested into rehabilitating the refinery. That was the first rehabilitation that has took place in those refineries for, say, over 20 years. And we're quite excited that for once, our refineries are going to come into production. And what we advocated as Pengasan was that once the refinery is producing, the government needs to divest, give 51% shares of those refineries to private investors, and you will now keep 49% shares for energy security. If you remember, the old Port Harcourt refinery started functioning, but not functioning optimally. Then the Warri refinery also came up. But when an assessment was done, it was discovered that what you feed into the refinery was not commensurate with what you get out from it. What do I mean? So if you feed a crude of, say, $1 million into the refinery, what you are going to get at the other end may be a product that is worth, let's say, about $600,000. So the question was now asked, should we continue to run those refineries in the states that they were and be running at a loss, or to shut it down, do another level of assessment, and bring in other investors to sell down the equity in those refineries so that they'll become a partner, so that taking decisions will no longer be politicized. So that decision was made, and eventually they went for the second option. Yes, we recognize that billions of dollars have been spent in those refineries. And what I've told colleagues elsewhere is just like you have a car. So this your car, you have parked your car for 10 years, all right? The engines were bad, the tires were bad, the entire the transmission systems, they were bad. But you now brought 2 million. So if you wanted to sell the car at that state, the value of the car, they may tell you, is 1 million naira. But if you now invest, let's say, 2 million naira in the car, you're able to change the tires, you're able to change the transmission system, you were able to service the engine to a relatively good state. If you now want to sell the car, for example, the value will no longer be 1 million. The value of that car would now be maybe somewhere around 4 million naira. So that is the state of our refineries today. So that money that has been invested in the refinery, we could say that it has not gone down the drain, because when you visit the refineries, you are going to see new compressors, you are going to see new turbines, you are going to see the pumps all functioning, you are going to see a lot of parts that were replaced. So if you have valued the refinery before rehabilitation, maybe they would have been at the scrap level. But if you value those refineries today, the money you spent in it, you will see the reflection of it largely. So for us, what we have, we have endorsed what the current NNPC management is doing, saying that what they need to do is to bring in private investors who will buy some of the equities in the refineries. We are even pushing that they should buy minimum 51%, so that if government now owns 49%, there won't be any political interferences in awarding contracts, in carrying out maintenances, and in staffing of those refineries. It will become business decisions, and the most efficient business decision will be taken. So for us, we think what is currently being done is the right step in the right direction.
At what point should Nigerians begin to question whether continued rehabilitation is the right approach, or whether the government should consider a completely different ownership and management model for these refineries? At what point?
That is the point we are now. We're already at that point. The point that we are now is already a point whereby, if you see recently, the NNPC management went to China, they signed an MOU. Today, government owns 100% of the refineries. What Pengasan advocated over time is the energy model, where you bring private equity owners, private investors that have both the technical capacity and the financial capability. If you remember, the MLNG, government owns 49%, and a consortium of the private sector led by Shell, Total Energies, and ANI, combined, they have 51%. Versus government 49%. That is why, if you see decisions taken in NLNG are taken grossly by these three people, because by the time you vote in the board, you have 51% votes. So even if government 49 becomes relatively significant. So that is the model that has kept this current NPC management want to imbibe. It is what Pengasan had advocated for over 25 years. And we are getting to that bus stop gradually. So for us, the operating model will change. So the question you have asked, at what point? We are almost at that point now. Because as we speak, the consortium of the Chinese investors, they were in Warri refineries. They were there for the last 2-3 months or thereabout. They've carried out comprehensive assessment of the Warri refineries. As we speak now, they are in Port Harcourt refinery. Because that is what we have advocated. Let private people that have managed refineries, that have managed petrochemical industry all over the world, let them come. Let them buy a good percentage of the shares. The reason is this. The reason government should not sell all its shares. Let's ask ourselves, why is it that today government is going to Dangote refinery to buy some shares through NNPC? The reason is because of energy security. There is no country in the world who will completely mortgage its energy security to the hand of private investors 100%. So to a very large extent, that is why government has also taken some stake in the Dangote refinery as at today. So in the one government owns, we don't want government to sell 100%. No, it will become counterproductive. You have seen what happened in power. So the fact that they sold power, they sold the discos and they sold gencos, has it resulted to a better power supply? The answer clearly is a no. So for us, we think that partnership between the government and the private sector, like is done today in NLNG, is the best model to go.
Now, Festus, with the private refining capacity expanding, particularly the Dangote refinery, does it still make economic sense for government to own and operate refineries, or should we be saying that the NNPC should focus more on its core commercial and upstream responsibilities?
And refinery is also NNPC core function. That is what relates with you and I. Most Nigerians don't even know about how crude is produced. They don't use crude, but you use a byproduct of crude. Yes, as we have said, Dangote refinery is a wonderful phenomenon that has happened to Nigeria, and Nigeria government must do everything possible to protect the refinery. But that doesn't also mean that the asset that you have, you will just allow it to be scrapped. No, it is not the best for our national interest. It's not the best for our national energy security. So for us, the refinery should be sustained, but the ownership model should change. By the time government sells 51% of this stake in this refinery, then it will no longer be owned principally by government, but government will now have substantive shares in it. You cannot say today, I cannot say today that government owns NLNG, but government has 49% shares in NLNG. And you can see year out, they turn dividend to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They turn dividend to our federation account. So that is the kind of model that we have assessed 25 years ago. That is the best model that will work. But thank God we are there today with what the current NNPC management is doing. Like even when they were doing rehabilitation under the Mele Kyari-led NNPC, we have also told them that once we finish this rehabilitation, please let us sit down. Let's find a way to ensure that government divest from this refinery maximum 49% or minimum 49%. Allow the private investors to buy such shares, and that has been our position for over 25 years, and that is the direction this new NNPC management is taking the refinery operating model to.
Let's also talk about something that I think is very important. It's a recurring issue of the crude supply. If Nigeria succeeds in rehabilitating its refineries but cannot guarantee them sufficient crude feedstock, aren't we simply solving one problem and creating another one?
I know. First, I think in that issue of feedstock, as it is today as a country, so we produce roughly about, let's assume about 1.6, 1.7 million liters of crude per day. So this particular crude that we are producing, remember, the International Oil and Gas Company, they are partners to NNPC. NNPC manages the federation shares in these various fields. All right. So now that percentage, out of the 1.7 million barrels per day, the shares of federal government could be approximately 800,000 barrels per day. So that particular 800,000 barrels per day, then I think government will have one or two obligations that they mortgage some of the oil to. Let's assume about 100,000 was mortgaged, but I need to check the figures again. All right. So now the other 700,000 could be used in supplying the domestic obligations. You saw what NUPRC released 2 days ago. That 56.3 million. 56.3 million liters was supplied to our to local refineries in last quarter. So that is not bad. If when you divide that will give you maybe somewhere over 500,000 barrels of crude per day. So again, refinery production. There are countries that doesn't even have crude that imports crude to produce. A country like Singapore, they don't have single drop of crude, but Singapore as a country, they are they refine good quantity of crude in Southeast Asia. So I don't think crude should be that main challenge. Yes, why it is good for Dangote refineries and other refineries beyond government. They should also approach the private sector, like the Chevron that operates in Nigeria, like Total Energies, like ExxonMobil, like ENI, Owando, and all of them. They should also approach them, sit down together, and sign an MOU on how they could get crude from them. But overall, crude is an international business, all right? So you could source crude from any part of the world, but it is good that our government should first of all consider crude to be supplied to the local refiners, because it assures energy security, most especially now that you have wars going on in different parts of the world that impact of crude supply.
Let's also come to NNPC's planned listing on the NGX. What would you say in your view? What in your view would this listing change about the way that the NNPC is run, particularly in terms of transparency, accountability, and even corporate governance?
Yeah, it's quite good. It's quite good. You know, when the PIA was passed, one of the innovations of the PIA was actually moving NNPC from a corporation to a karma company. So as a karma company, there are a lot of obligations, that you are required to fulfill. And that is When NNPC moved, you could see that a company that was making literally losses in the last 40 years plus, over time, they've now started making profits. And also, you could now see the books of NNPC. Before they became Karma companies, you hardly see the financials of NNPC. But today, you can lay your hand P&L. You can lay your hand on the balance sheet. You can lay your hand on the cash flow statements and all of that. So basically, being a Karma company has further improved that level of transparency. And going to stock exchange, moving from a limited liability company to now a PLC, it's a further demonstration of transparency. When they are listed, Nigeria can actually go to the stock exchange and buy shares of NNPC Limited. All right. So it will no longer be 100% owned by government, but it will now be owned by the entire Nigerians. And that is actually the way to go, because the Saudi Aramcos of this world, they have listed. The Petrobras of this world, they have listed. The Dead Start Oil.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Business Week. This is Business Day TV. And as you know, Business Week is a weekly Monday program brought to you every Monday at 9 a.m. Where we review topical business news. And today in the studio, I'm joined by two gentlemen. To my extreme right over there, I've got Dipo Oladende, who's our assistant editor and energy desk editor. And then I've got Wasiu Ali, who's our deputy online editor. You're welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good to be here once again.
Great. Before we go into our topics of discussion this morning, first a few headlines. Governor Ademola Adeleke reaffirms support for Tinubu's re-election after winning the governorship election in Osun State. BRICS moves linking instant payments, digital currencies across member states. Donald Trump ends temporary protection for 4 African countries' nationals in the US, Somalia, Sudan, Cameroon, and Ethiopia. And finally, Iran offers $30,000 bounty for capturing US soldiers as dispute remains. And now, straight into our topics for discussion today. I think it will be right to start with what happened over the weekend on Saturday, the Osun State election that led to the victory. I won't say landslide because the margin was just 6%, but the victory of Governor Ademola Jackson Adeleke. What did you make of that election, Dipo?
Yeah, thank you very much. My view is the voter turnout was a bit impressive. We saw the population turnout of about 44%, close to 45%.
Yeah.
For Nigerian standard, for other countries that might be poor, but for Nigeria, where we normally use over around 22, 23, 30, that's quite impressive. So a lot of people turned out to vote. The turnout was quite impressive. And the fact that there were pockets of violence in some communities, but just about. So what we don't know now is will the opposition be challenging the developments at the court of election tribunal? That's one. And then the second thing is now that there is the Adeleke had won again. What does this mean? States in this first 4 years, it was payment of salary was not a problem. He boasted about building quality infrastructure during his the TV program, where a live debate where he was talking about his plans. And then for what people will be expecting going for the next term would be again, infrastructure, about roads, the roads that connect Osun to its neighboring states, and the economic viability of that road. Just this morning I was discussing with colleagues at the office about how the state is mostly a civil servant state. The government is the biggest employer of labor. There's no quality private sector. You look at Osun in terms of attracting FDI, it's still relatively locked in. So again, he has his hands full in terms of meeting the demands, bringing the demands of democracy.
Yeah, but you know, I was going to come to that. But maybe I should give Wasiu a chance now to chip in. What does the entry of Governor Adeleke look like now that you know, he's won the election? What does he have to do? Like Diko rightly said, Osun State is still pretty much dependent on government. Government is the single largest contributor to economic growth in Osun State, whether you're talking about jobs and all of that. But you need the state to come to that point where private capital also plays a starring role. So what does his entry look like? What do you think Governor Adeleke should work on now that he has gotten his second term?
Yeah, I think he has laid the foundation because there's a couple of discussions around infrastructure. Yeah, and I mean that's the first point. If you have quality infrastructure, it brings it opens door for investments. Osun is known for tourism, and I think that's one low-hanging fruit that the government has not really, focused on, utilized. So if they can invest more on that and standardize those tourist centers, then you can bring in dollars from foreigners that will come in, and then with the infrastructure in place, then you can open door for more investment, especially in areas of tourism. And I think power is also a thing. Now that states can now generate their own power, I learned that Osogbo, the capital of Osun, has stable power. But I think if the government can, step up efforts in that regard, then you have private, capital, private businesses, opening up. If a state is if the largest employer of labor in a state is the government itself, then that signals that there's a lag in terms of productivity. There'll be a lag in terms of productivity, and then the largest, the wage bills of the government will be. That's not really a good one for the government. But I think that's if you could look into tourism thoroughly, I think it's going to play a major role.
Absolutely. And I like the point you've made about tourism. States should focus on areas where they have comparative advantage. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everything to everyone. But once you find something that that you can truly utilize, that would help you develop your state, the fortunes of your state, then why not? So tourism, that makes a lot of sense. But finally, we've seen 2 off-cycle elections now, Osun State, and of course we've seen was it Ekiti before now?
I think
there was election in Ekiti.
Yeah. So I know these are early days. Those 2 off-cycle elections that we've seen, but are there any permutations that we can make? Any inferences we can draw from these 2 off-cycle elections in terms of predicting what might happen at the presidential election? I know APC won in Ekiti State, but lost in Osun State, even though Governor Adeleke has given his allegiance to the president, right? And is really backing him. But is there any? What is it? What's you want to try or deep?
I think it's a fresh blow to the ruling party APC now, because having Osun would have been a clear cut.
But they don't have Osun. Even if I know they don't have Osun.
In the real terms of
the real sense of it, they don't. But the governor there is
swinging allegiance to the president, which means that
he mobilizes his people to turn up for APC at the presidential election.
But
that would be strange if Accord were to produce a presidential candidate as well.
If Accord would produce a presidential candidate, he probably wouldn't. I wouldn't say wouldn't go anywhere, but it wouldn't pull that much crowd. But that's even off the table, because That's window is already closed. But I mean, what it really indicates is that democracy is still thriving in the country, despite the fact that violence was high rate of violence was recorded in the election. And for 2027, like you mentioned, it's really not looking like
what processes have this product undergone for us to ascertain or certify that these products are wholesome, they've been kept under the right conditions. Let's even just say seasonality of food. What is the process around ensuring that the undulating demand and supply of food does not affect availability and food pricing? These were the things that we had looked at overall as a ministry, as a government, to say we need to intervene. How do we intervene? Lagos is a market city. It's the largest in terms of population. Well, that could be disputed, and some people can say Kano is more, but we know the number of people that come into Lagos on a daily basis. It is not reducing, it is increasing. And so the pressures on our facilities, on our infrastructure, and on the food systems continues to multiply. How do we ensure that we capitalize on what we have going for us, which is abundant population, and turn the story around? A lot of people would say Lagos is not an agrarian state. It's the smallest state in the nation. It is over at least about 20-something% of Lagos is covered in water. But what can we do as a city state? So what we have positioned ourselves is, as a market city, the best bet is reorganize and restructure your market. That way, you can ascertain what is coming into your state. You can see the flow of food, and that way you can also help with traceability, with wholesomeness of food. Also ensure that pricing of food is not exorbitant for the populace or the citizenry. And more importantly, government interventions can continue or start to become more precision-based. And so the idea of having food hubs, but not just food hubs alone, having the central logistics hub, which is the mother hub, located in Ekpe, to now supply the different hubs across the different localities, these food items, where everything can be traced. We felt that it was really important. But we didn't also just take this positioning haphazardly. We had undergone a lot of studies to see what other countries, other nations, other 60 states are doing to ensure that we are on the right track. And this is majority of what happens in other climes across the world. You don't have them just having markets haphazardly. It is organized, and we felt that this is also the right approach to take in a city like Lagos. So it's essentially giving market traders a dignified platform to trade, giving bulk dealers, wholesalers the opportunity to buy in bulk and sell in bulk, giving logistics providers the opportunity to deal with numerous players simultaneously, giving our market traders access to cold storage, to dry storage facilities without the need to constantly go into the major markets to buy on a daily basis, thereby constituting traffic, constituting losses in terms of food waste. All of these things were what we thought about and why the development of the food hub system came about. And so we have built in Mushin, we have built in Abidjan, we have now commissioned Agege. We still have some other hubs coming up, but essentially this is what the structure is, and this is the intent behind going in this direction around reorganizing the food markets in Lagos for Lagosians and Nigerians at large.
Right. Very well said, Honorable Commissioner. But let's speak about the storage. So how much storage and processing capacity is Lagos building, into this food network, so that increased production does not simply translate into more food being wasted? Let's talk about the processing capacity and also the storage.
Yeah.
How much of it is Lagos building?
Okay. Okay, so for processing, so the way the hub is being built, and I'll start off with the central logistics hub, which is where you have processing taking place as well as aggregation, packaging, and what have you. That is actually a very large facility. It is sited on about 400 hectares of land, which is 4 million square meters. In Ekpe, you have dry storage, you have cold storage of about 45,000 cubic meters. So you'll be able to store thousands and thousands of tons of food, be it for cold and be it for dry. With regards to the numbers, because it is being built modularly, as we build, then the numbers continue to increase. So I can't even give an exact figure right now because we are also looking at it based on anchor tenancy agreements and also the anchor tenancy structure that we are building for that. For the respective middle level hubs, which is one of which is the Agege Food Hub, for instance. Agege Food Hub, it's sitting on 7,000 square meters of land. The building footprint itself is 4,000 square meters. The cold storage in itself is it will take about 300 tons of food. The dry storage will take about 800 tons of food. And this is on a daily basis. So it's not just to say store and leave there. It is to store, sell, replenish, and that continues as a cycle. So you can imagine the volume of food that can pass in that food hub alone on an annual basis. So that is actually a lot. But more importantly, it's not just to say let's store food. It is to have a cyclical nature in which food can be brought in, preserved, minimize losses, traders can sell, citizenry are assured of the wholesomeness and freshness of the food, and I mean, the gains are passed on to the citizenry with regards to lower price points as opposed to having maximum spoilage and people still have to pay for the spoilage by reason of the good ones being now priced higher. So these are the gains that we have seen, and we know that for every food hub, you have a cold storage, you have dry storage. And as we progress also, because it's also a learning curve that we are taking, as we build more hubs, there's improvement. The Mushin Food Hub, for instance, doesn't have a fish or a cold wet section. The Agege Hub does have it. And as more hubs are being built and we see what the locality entails, we continue to improve on that. So across all hubs, there's dry storage, there's wet storage. In the central logistics hub, you have packaging, you have aggregation, you have maximum storage, you have silos being built, you have the largest cold rooms in West Africa and what have you. So these are the positionings that we have taken in the building of these food hubs.
All right, Commissioner, you've been able to establish that there is food availability, and this now takes us to the question of affordability. How will Lagos measure whether these investments are actually translating into lower or more stable food prices for the consumers?
Okay, so what currently happens is when traders, and I'll use bulk dealers for example, when they aggregate food and bring it into Lagos, it's just simple economics. Per unit cost of a food item, it is X amount. But by the time it's getting here based on long distances, it will now be X minus the spoiled amount. It doesn't mean that the consumer is still not going to pay for the entire cost that the bulk dealer has already acquired, let me put it that way. And so if we can minimize losses, we know that the minimization will translate to lower food pricing across the board, because what that means is you have been able to preserve a maximum quantity of the items that were aggregated in the first place. Part of the idea of the hubs is also to work with aggregators based on certain price points, which is why we had launched the 500 billion naira offtake guarantee fund in 2025. Part of what this is supposed to do is at the point of purchase by aggregators from different cluster farms across the country, we should already know what the price points are. So this is where you have more or less like an auctioning system. This is how it is done globally. And from that point on, once the price has already been set and agreed upon, it means there is a minimum margin that should be placed on the product at any point in time by any other player in the value chain, from the point of offtake at the farm gate all up until the market. So it means there should be a certain price range in which a product should be. It cannot go beyond that price point. Once it goes beyond that price point, then we know that there's something already up, and that is not okay. So these are the mechanisms that are being put in place around ensuring that you have food hubs where traceability can happen. We know where the products should come from. We know the quantities that have been purchased. We know the price point at farm gate. We know what the logistics cost entails. We know what packaging and processing and storage cost should be. And so automatically the price point should be a given. It shouldn't be some absurd numbers that automatically people start to say, hey, things have become way too expensive that people cannot afford it. So this is the mathematics behind why the food hubs are important. They also help to keep price points in check. Now, let me just add, it's not to now stifle the market in such a way that people can't make the gains they ordinarily would make, but it is putting sanity in the system to say, hey, we understand everyone in this game is here to make some margins, but not to take advantage of the citizenry in a way that it hurts the entire economy. And that is the process around why we are doing this in the way and manner in which we are doing it. So it's not just even building food hubs alone, it's building a system of traceability from top to bottom, so that at the end of the day, the consumer gains a lot out of it.
Right. There's also a huge business opportunity here from everything that you've said, and that is linking from farming and also the aggregation to logistics, the cold storage, processing, and retail also. So what opportunities are you deliberately creating for the private investors and also young entrepreneurs within the food ecosystem?
Okay, so I think investment opportunities are bound. And I think that's the beauty of agriculture and food systems. Anywhere you turn to, you would find an opportunity there. So, for instance, having a structured framework for food already tells you that, okay, I can actually start investing in farming. It means I can invest in production because there's already a guaranteed uptake by the Lagos state government and the private sector players that are working together on this project. So that is an opportunity in itself. Now, what we are trying to achieve, let's say, for instance, again, with the offtake guarantee fund, is to put in a bit of certainty, which is why price points at the point of purchase would already be negotiated upon before a farmer can even start to plant. And that way it gives the farmer the assurance that once I plant and it meets a certain quality and a certain standard, and this is the quantity we have agreed to, this is the price point at which I am going to be selling for. So that already the farmer can now go ahead to invest in farming, knowing fully well that, oh, if I can keep my cost at X and I know that the price point I'm going to get is Y per unit, then I can easily calculate what my profitability would be. This also gives the banks a case to actually invest and loan the farmer some funds to say, hey, based on what you already have going on with this arrangement with the Lagos state government and what have you, we can put some monies behind you, assuming that all goes well, particularly with climate risk and all of that. For the young entrepreneurs who can fall into any category, let's even say an e-commerce platform or what have you, it is also a case in point to say, hey, even though I may not necessarily need to be at the food hub physically, I can start to partner with retailers and bulk wholesalers at the food hub to start doing food redistribution or food order taking and delivery to homes. For those who are into logistics, it is also an opportunity of working with certified aggregators to say, hey, if you are moving food from Kano to Lagos, I am the off-taker party for you logistics-wise. For cold storage players as well, whether you're doing cold storage cool boxes or you're doing cold storage solutions at aggregation points, it is also an opportunity to invest, knowing fully well that if this farm or if this cluster of farmers have gotten into this agreement to produce this quantity of food for Lagos, then they will definitely need storage facilities or cold storage to actually help to preserve those food items before the aggregator comes. So across the chain, opportunities abound. It's just a function of which opportunity would one as an individual gone for. And I think that the opportunities are right for the picking.
Right. All right, speak to us about what success would look like for the Lagos food security strategy in the next 3 to 5 years. Do you think Lagos can become not just a major food market, but also a major food production and distribution hub for the wider region?
Okay, so I would not want to mix up where we are strong and where we are weak. We can be a good food production hub, but that is not what we are gunning after. And the reason is this: once we start to confuse our priorities, we will start to have problems. And I think overall, that is why we have been lagging a bit in agriculture. Every state wants to do the same thing. We all want to grow, and usually we also want to grow similar things. And when there is no competition as such in a way that spurs greater productivity, we would be where we are today. I'll make a case in point: China. There is no region in China you go today, they are known for one thing and one thing only. If you go to the next region, they will not be trying to compete on the same thing the previous region is actually good at. They would look for something else and make that their area of competitive advantage and strength. And so for Lagos, like I said, we're a market city state. We understand that we have the population, we have the infrastructure, we have the socio-economic indicators working in our favor. We are the largest commercial center for the entire country. Even when you look at the population dynamics as well, the young citizenry, they dominate this population. We understand our place, and so we would want to remain in that area of reorganizing and also structuring the market. That way it is seamless. That way other states that are very, very good and competitive at producing can produce more, because there is now a channel through which they can actually send in food and make the most margins for the farming community, and they are also prosperous as well. So in as much as we are chasing food production, and we will continue to do so, because we won't also leave ourselves vulnerable and say, hey, we'll only structure markets and not do anything around food production. No, we will. But what I'm saying is we just need to understand our areas of strength and focus largely on those. So that is where we will be looking at. But so far, we are also very good in livestock production, particularly in poultry and aquaculture. So focus would be largely on these areas, as well as in vegetable production. But for other items like maybe tubers, legumes, grains, these are largely up north, our middle belt, and so we will continue to partner with such states and such individual farmers or companies or cooperatives and clusters to ensure the straight-on supply chain for these food items into Lagos. So vis-a-vis production versus reorganizing and strengthening markets, we would continue to always try to find a balance, but we know our areas of strength. For production, aquaculture, poultry, even piggery, we are actually very good at that. We have some of the largest piggery estates in West Africa. And then in vegetable horticulture production, those will be our areas of focus for production, whilst we continue to reorganize markets and ensure that for the rest of the country, Lagos is anyway the state that receives most of the foods grown across board. We would just make sure that that is reorganized such that everyone, has a win-win with what is happening right now.
Thank you so much for your time on the Business Money Live Show, Honorable Commissioner. We really appreciate it. All right, we'll be speaking to Abisola Olusonya. She's the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Systems, Lagos State. The Business Money Live Show continues after this break with the social listening. Do stay with us.
Nigeria, a land of boundless energy, driven by the pulse of over 200 million dreams. At the heart of this momentum stands a giant, Seplat Energy, an indigenous powerhouse accounting for a vital share of Nigeria's oil and gas output, propelled by the historic acquisition milestone with the acquisition of ExxonMobil's onshore and shallow water assets, significantly expanding its production capacity and marking its entry into offshore operations. We are the engine of prosperity, Nigeria's leading domestic gas supplier with a total gas production output of 2.7 billion cubic feet, and the landmark Ano gas project delivering first gas. We have elevated our total processed gas output to 855 million standard cubic feet per day onshore. Indeed, we have brought domestic gas utilization to new heights, powering industries and securing energy for millions. But we are not just growing production, we're growing responsibly. By ending routine flares, we are decarbonizing our operations today to protect the Nigeria of tomorrow. Our reach is expanding. From offshore gas distribution to the growth of CNG for transport and industry, we are deepening our presence across the entire value chain. Our impact reaches the grassroots. Through innovative mini-grid projects, we are bringing clean, reliable energy to local communities, fueling economic empowerment where it's needed most. We are more than an energy company. We are a partner in progress, a leader in the energy transition, a giant rooted in Nigeria for Nigeria. Seplat Energy.
Every legacy has a beginning. Ours evolved, built on trust and carried forward as a second-generation family legacy. Bemio has grown into Nigeria's largest cash-in-transit provider, trusted where precision and reliability matter most. But we are more than movement. We deliver protection at every level, from professional guarding to journey management to concierge services. And through Bemio Polo, we reflect the identity, heritage, and standards we uphold. This is modern service. This is a legacy in motion. Bemio, your partner to safer living.
At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Mosef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Mosef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
If it's sparking conversations, then we're bringing it to your seats. Welcome to the social listening segment, where we bring you the stories, debates, and moments generating conversations across social media. I am Deborah Eze. And now let's get into what is making waves online. For the first conversation today, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared the incumbent governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, the winner of Saturday's governorship election. Adeleke, who contested on the platform of the Accord Party, was declared winner by the state returning officer Joshua Ogunwole at the INEC State Coalition Center in Osogbo on Sunday morning, after results from the state's 30 local government areas were collated. His victory gives him another 4-year term as governor of the state. Now let's see some of the reactions and also the videos on social media.
Is hereby declared the winner. Ademola Jackson Nuruddin of Accord Party, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner.
And like I was saying, how can you not love Governor Adeleke? Of course, you can see how his happiness is really contagious. But let's take a look at how the netizens on social media are reacting to this victory. And of course, the first reaction from Ikenna, and Ikenna said, this man should be forever grateful to Davido for the part he played in the election. Davido really tried for him. How I wish P Square can learn from the Adelekes what it means to be family. And of course, another reaction from Tama. And Tama said they are happy not because they have another chance to serve the people, but another 4 years of remaining in power for their self-benefit. That's the mindset of the typical Nigerian politician. Another reaction from Vanessa Valentine. And she said, we hope he stands against APC in the presidential election. The rest of us deserve better than being ruled by Tinubu's party against our will too. And finally, from Okoye David, and he said, if he was not performing well, nobody would vote for him. With this is when I have hope in the next year election. Of course, I must agree with Okoye David. I really do have hope in the next election, and at long last, you know, after all of the campaign, the rallies, the political calculations, like I like to call it, you know, Governor Adeleke, Ademola Adeleke, was finally declared winner by the INEC. But away from the celebration, because we've celebrated enough with, you know, I'm sure a majority of us are really happy for the governor's dancing governor. We understand that elections are ultimately about what happens after the results, which I'm sure is what Tama, one of the reactions from the netizens, was trying to say. Now, Nigerians don't just want politicians who can win elections. They want leaders who can actually deliver once the whole campaign posters come down, the whole, you know, the whole election campaign is over. So I really hope that Governor Ademola Adeleke continues the good work that the people of Osun State saw, and they saw in fit to be re-elected. And for him, this actually means the real work really has to start now. And I'm very sure that the people of Osun will be watching everything from, jobs, infrastructure to security, and also the cost of living. He has finally passed the first test, which is actually winning the election. So congratulations to him. And as Nigerians like to say, no be campaign again. Now work now. You need to show workings. And I'm really sure, I'm strongly assured that it will continue the good work that he has, done in Osun State. And to the people who thinks it's Davido, I don't believe it's just Davido. Was there an influence? Yes, but not the amount of influence to actually push an election in a whole state. I'm very sure the people voted Governor Adeleke because he has done the work in his first term, and they really want to see the work continue in the second term. Big congratulations to the people of Osun State. Now let's move to the second conversation today. And we're traveling down to Abia State, where Governor Dr. Alex Oti has approved 1 million naira each to 31 indigenes of the state who recently returned from South Africa. In a statement by the Chief Press Secretary for the Governor, Ukoha Njoku, the government disclosed that the approval is for the immediate relief and to reassure the returnees that they have not been abandoned in their moment of need. The statement added that comprehensive profiling of each returnees is currently underway to assess the individual circumstances and socio-economic realities to enable the government design appropriate interventions for sustainable reintegration and social protection coverage tailored to their specific needs. Let's take a look at the tweet to this story. And of course, I think Donald Trump reacted to this and he said, this is good, but the long-term integration support is even more important than the 1 million naira. Help them rebuild their lives, find work or start businesses so that they don't end up back where they started. Oh, that's a Prodi account, please. That's not from Donald Trump. Another reaction from Dr. Jane, and it said 31 people, 31 million naira. One clear message: when citizens go through difficult times, government should be there to support them. Kudos to Alex Oti for this intervention. Another reaction from Ma 306. I don't know what that is. That's very thoughtful of him. This will encourage those outside to return back to their motherland. There is more to life here than expected. Another reaction from Theo Elvis Leo Praise, and he said, there are levels to this politics. I will say it again and again. He's the best performing governor in Nigeria. And when he comes out for presidential role, ensure you guys don't carry your dirty tribal bigotry here or bigotry here. This is a very good one, and this is the moment where I'm proud to actually say I am an indigene of Abia State, but I won't be getting my own 1 million naira approved by the governor. This is a very good one. 31 Abia indigenes who were repatriated from South Africa getting 1 million naira. It's not enough for them to actually recover back the losses that they went through in the state, but I think it's actually a very beautiful start, because imagine having to lose everything that that they lost in South Africa. I'm talking their business, their homes, and then you just slam 1 million naira. It actually gives hope. It actually gives hope to the people returning home, and I must say this is actually an incredible step. It's a welcome gesture, especially like I mentioned, especially for those who actually lost their jobs, their personal belongings. But there's a bigger question, which is what will happen after the 1 million naira finishes. But I think that is where the minister actually said that they're trying to do like a routine check where they get to assess how much loss these people have, for them to be able to know where they're going to help in having to sustain them for the time being till they get, their feet back. But I must really say this is a good one. The 1 million naira would definitely provide relief for them till the next chapter, till whatever happens. And I must agree, there are really levels to this politics, this game called politics, and Alex Oti has proven that is the master player of it all, because he puts the citizen first in everything that he does as a governor. And I think other states can learn from Alex Oti, wherever he takes his masterclass in having to govern the state. All right, let's move to the final conversation today. Residents and motorists were stranded on Saturday after heavy rainfall triggered flash flooding in parts of Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. The downpour left parts of Wuse 2, including Adetokunbo Demola Crescent, as well as the area around the Lights Event Center in Gudu and FAB Estate in Lukugoma, heavily flooded. The bridge linking Gadua and Durumi was heavily flooded, leaving motorists stranded and disrupting movement. Some vehicles were submerged or damaged by the flood waters, while businesses in affected areas were forced to close down. And we have the video playing right there.
We died here. What is car? Jesus.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at the way netizens are reacting to this story, because I have a lot to say about this. Now, the first one from Four-Eyed Edo Girl, and she said, Nigeria is beginning to experience more serious floodings, erosions, landslide, and change in weather. But the leaders have refused to acknowledge that there's been a shift and start searching for the root cause, of which poor town planning is a great contributor. And a reaction from Voice of the Masses, and he said, so many heaps of dump all around Abuja. So when it rains, it washes the heaps into drainages. Abuja is now so dirty like Lagos, and these are part of the consequences. Another reaction from Roy Y. Peter, and he said, you spend millions to buy a car, pay crazy rent for a showroom in Wuse 2, only for FCT rain to turn your business into a boat club. The drainage system needs a whole revival. And finally from Uyi Osage, and said, wow, with all the borrowing money in Abuja and Governor Wike in power, Abuja is still flood. It's a shame. Sad one to the person that are affected by the flood. Well, we can now see that flood is no longer just the Lagos problem, like the way Abuja people like, to claim. And it's really sad, because 1 minute you're either driving home and the next minute you're calculating whether your car can swim, or whether you have to park all of the money that you have left for food to give to your mechanic. The images, the video that we saw of the submerged cars and also the stranded residents is a serious reminder of how quickly floods can turn an ordinary day into emergencies. Like somebody said, mechanics are really going to cash out from this sad experience. And I must agree that Nigeria is now experiencing more floodings and erosion, and I think that's one of the things that the government should actually look into. Our weather, the times that we had favorable weather, it's not now anymore. Things are changing. the shift is now so much, and it would be nice for the government to actually understand that, you know, this natural phenomenon, that's the damage from it is often worse. And why is it worse? It's from poor drainage, blocked waterways, and, you know, also construction that don't always take water, you know, flow seriously. And the frustrating part in all of this is that flooding is no longer something that, you know, we can pretend that is unexpected. Like, people in Lagos, unfortunately, they are now used to it. Oh, it's raining, it's going to be flooded. You know, it's not something that is unexpected. We understand that that is what it is because we have a poor planning system, you know, and of course rainy season will come with, you know, the warning signs. So I think it's now time for us to actually, like, you know, move from, oh, it's an emergency flooding to a proper flood planning. That is what we need, because Abuja was really planned, I must say, for someone who has actually lived in Abuja. They really have very good town planning. So for some part of Abuja to actually start facing this, I think we really need to sit down, the government really needs to sit down and have a proper flood planning so that, you know, Nigerians cannot just wake up to unnecessary headache. Because I can imagine what every car owner whose car was submerged in the flood is feeling right now. Because, come on, it's urban planning. It's very simple. Urban planning, survival strategy. Let the government actually, you know, find a way to actually make it work. But Abuja, I don't know whether or not to say congratulations, or whether or not at least you've kind of like experienced what we experienced in Lagos. And this is no longer a Lagos or Benue, you know, problem anymore. This is now, it has now moved to the FCT. So I think a proper flood planning should be done, you know, for there to not be losses like this anymore. And to think that, you know, we have shaky like insurance plan in Nigeria. So most of these losses typically goes to the people who owns the cars, and, you know, no one is actually having to share like a part of the loss with them. It's really, really sad, really, really sad. And that's a wrap on the conversation making waves across social media in Nigeria today. Thank you for watching the social listening segments. Of course, we'll come your way again tomorrow by 8 a.m. on the Business Morning Live Show. I am Deborah Eze. Do have yourself a beautiful morning.
Of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Nigeria's never really needed an excuse to celebrate. From weddings and birthdays to corporate events, product launches, and major social gatherings, there's a constant demand for experiences that are bigger, better, and increasingly more sophisticated. But behind the glamour is a serious business. There are budgets to manage, vendors to coordinate, clients to satisfy, and expectations that can shift right up until the big day. And as the Nigerian event industry becomes more competitive, the business is also changing. Clients are looking for more than beautiful setups. They want memorable experiences, precision, and value for money. So what does it really take to build a sustainable business around experiences in Nigeria? Well, joining me this morning is Ori Moses. She's the founder and head of event curation at Perfecto Event, and she's an event curator and strategist. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Now, let's start with what I believe many people want to know. When you look at Nigeria's event industry today, what would you say has changed the most about the business of creating experiences?
Well, what has changed in the business of creating experiences is that over the years, when event planning started becoming like a career path for people, thanks to people like Yohandi Zakios and Funke Buckner that brought a bit of light to that space, it was more about planning an event to go well. But now it has evolved into creating experiences for people. There must be a guest journey. People want to feel, people want to remember, people want to share things about an event. People want to talk about the details that they feel about an event they attended. So it has gone beyond just planning, it has gone beyond just organizing an event to go smoothly. It has now evolved into designing experiences. So I think it's not planning events well anymore. It's about designing experiences for people, so that people can talk about it anywhere they go, and people can feel whatever they want to feel, but that event must have a feeling. So I think what we've evolved into is we're trying to get into what they call immersive event experience. So that's where we are. That's the bigger picture. That's where we're headed to, creating design experiences. That's where we are headed to. And let's bring it down to Nigeria. Nigeria is now being intentional. Customers are wanting experiences. Guests are wanting experiences. They don't want to just come to an event and say, oh, the decor was very nice. It's beyond that. They want to talk about how they felt when they arrived, how the hospitality was, how the food was being served, how the drinks were being served. It's not like those days where you can open up a bottle of drink and serve, but now there's a creativity around that now. So people want to have that. We're now having surprises in events. The other elements are bringing all sorts of entertainment into the event space. So stakeholders and clients and guests and even vendors is all coming together. The picture is experience, design experience. So that's
right. We also see that there's clearly a lot of money moving through this industry, but I want to know how much of this actually translates into a sustainable business for event professionals, because we hear millions, but how much of it actually translates into sustainable business for the event professionals?
Well, will I say how much of it does it translate to businesses for professionals? It doesn't really. I would say revenue over the years, revenue is different from event revenue is different from profit. And so because it's different from profit, I would say that the event business, of course, money is moving. It's moving well. But you can't say because an event planner, because that's what people are hearing outside. Event planners, they are making so much money. Yes, in question. But event planners that are here, okay, this event is costing 20 million. This event is costing 50 million. It does not translate to profit for an event planner. And that's what people don't know. And even the event professionals now should be asking themselves, do you want to create revenue or you want to make profit? Do you want to make, and when we say profit means you should be seeing the business side of your work so that it can become sustainable. And for a business to become sustainable, it has to be profitable. And when there's profit, that means in the slow season of a business, it can still sustain. We can still have the right people coming together to push things well professionally. So I would say we should look at the details. Money is moving, but moving where? Is money moving in terms of, because I feel people are just talking about revenue, but revenue is always from profit. So we should look at it. So an event of 20 million. By the time you rent a venue, you should look at details. Events about vendors, venue, logistics, entertainment, master of ceremony, all those people are coming to that space. So when you say 20 million, please, in the budget that we create as event professionals, there are budgets that come into play. By the time you deduct all that, most of the time the event planners are going with maybe zero to little profit, just to be very sincere, authentic. So it's not about just having that regular events every weekend. The event professionals also should be asking, are they profitable? Can they sustain this business in the next 50 years? Can it survive any form of crisis because they are reserved somewhere? So money, I think what we're asking is an average, what we're asking is knowing if money is moving in the event. It's moving, but is it translating to profit for us? That's the question. And
so is it translating to profit?
I think it's little, not as much, because now most people and most event professionals are into the creativity of events, yes. But the business of event, I don't think they are being intentional, because there's a bit of there's part of proper pricing is not really in place. Proper pricing is not in place. Contracts, most of our events, growing or evolving event professionals are not even very conversant with contracts. Most people are not also conversant with systems, operational systems that make things work properly. So if you put all of this together, structure, logistics that are done professionally, and having the right kind of people work with you, then you will see there is more to it than just creating an event. Most people are just creating an event, but they're not looking at the business of event. The business of events will make an event evolve better, and people will have businesses in event that can scale up, that can even meet global standard. And right now, most of the event in Nigeria, yes, we are creating events, we are very creative, we are doing beautiful events, but the business around it, the operation systems that makes it professional is not being imbibed. So profit is a thin line.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back for more on this conversation on the business of events. Do stay with us, don't go anywhere. You're still watching Business Morning Live right here on Business Day Television. And just before we went on the break, we were speaking about Nigeria's experience economy and the business of event. But we're speaking with Ori Moses on the show this morning. I want us to talk about the numbers, right? Oftentimes people talk about what it takes to actually plan a realistic Nigerian wedding. So maybe, I don't know what the average number of guests is for an average Nigerian wedding. If it's 100, if it's 200, 300, but I mean, just the average that most couples, look out for. What realistically should we be looking at to plan a realistic Nigerian wedding, and what are the biggest cost drivers?
That's a good question, and it's also deep. A realistic Nigerian wedding, based on what we started off with, saying that right now with the evolving trend in the market, is now about experiences. So if we're talking about realistic budget, we should be looking at the kind of clients that we're dealing with. So a realistic budget for a middle or an average Nigerian. So when you say average Nigerian, I'm assuming they're talking about middle income earner and a middle income Nigerian citizen. So if it's that means we should be looking realistically if they want a well-executed event that creates a bit of a middle level of experience. So I'm not saying the full. We should be looking at a 10 million to 30 million, kind of. If not saying 50 million, but let's say 10 million to 30 million, kind of, for a middle income Nigerian couple for a wedding. That should be what we should look at. That actually wants this event experience, wants a guest journey, wants people to remember, wants as a way she wants people to feel. They want to put a personalization around their event, a bit of it, if they want it to be well executed, just a bit of it. That would be the range that.
So, what are the biggest cost drivers? What have you seen that most people spend more money on? Is it food? Is it the venue, or what?
The cost drivers has to do first with that. It still has to do with this thing called the experience. So the cost driver that makes it that high is number one, the venue. So if you talk about Lagos, our popular cities, Abuja, Port Harcourt, you should be looking. Then where in Lagos? Is it Lagos Island? Is it Lagos mainland? And for those that know what the cost if you're in Lagos Island, when we talk about Lagos Island, let's look at places going from Ikoyi, Lekki, like venues there. That's, if you know what the price is. So if they say a venue is 15, let me just say 15 billion, that's it. Or let's just go a bit lower, let's say you get a 5.5 million or 6 million. So how much is remaining for a 10 million event? Then you want a good professional. So you want, let's say at most you want to deal with a mid-level professional in food catering. And the food caterer is saying, let's say a good one, mid-level, 8,000 per plate with all the right ingredients. The next thing is the guest count. So how many guests? So for 10 guests, 8,000, how much is that already? So you're now working with 100, 200, 300. So the venue, yes, I'm saying I'm not going that the drivers are the venue, but also it has also to do with the experience the client wants to create. So to determine the kind of vendors that we're working on that project. So of course, from the venue goes to the food catering, goes to the drinks catering. So when I'm saying drinks catering, people don't mention a bit of drinks catering because alcohol, like for those that in terms of drinks, alcoholic drinks are coming in. Alcoholic drinks are quite on the high side. So now the brand of alcoholic drinks that have been delivered, I'm not talking about the people that will service this, that will do the catering of the drinks, just about purchasing the drinks. That's it. So from that to the entertainment, the master of ceremony, the disc jockey, the live bands, the entertainers, maybe cultural performance, since it's a wedding, the surprise elements that brings all that experience together, the staffing. So what kind of staffing? There are all kind of staffings you can have. But if you want good staffing that brings the right hospitality, then that's going to increase the price. The accommodation, the logistics, the energy, the power, all of that thing, those are the things that, increases your bills, that makes it look as if the event space and the event execution, the cost for it is quite expensive. But it's not expensive because there's currently inflation in the economy. So, and we're in Nigeria where, inflation is here and our prices are always evolving, it's not stable. You could wake up this morning, things are at this price, wake up the next morning is this price. And so the more reason why we need contract even for we as event professionals with the right fit vendors, such that if an event is going for more than 6 months or 2 months, there must be a defined period for how long that can work, even for the vendor, so that in case there's a problem, there's a challenge of market increase, we should look into that. So let me just stop there.
Right. Let me also talk about something I think is really important, but I think you've also spoken to it, which is about the pricing and cost, which obviously I know that pricing and cost changes very quickly. So I think I just wanted to know how you price and manage an event when the cost of almost everything from food to the logistics and the decor, they can actually shift between the time a client books and the actual event. So how are you able to successfully handle this?
So as an event professional, what we are meant to do and what I know that we do is to ensure that this thing called contract, that's why the proper pricing, having a contract is very important with clients. So, and also communication, also making the client understand the season that we are in, the volatility of our market, and putting that to pen, saying that within this period and this period, this can happen. And even for us, we ensure that maybe 30 days or 60 days ahead, there's a clause in the contract that we can carefully review and see if there's any significant change. But one thing that we do that as event professionals we should have what they call contingency plan, and which means in the pricing you should also have buffers. Buffers can be 10% to 25%. It should be in your pricing because of this, kind of things that can happen. So when you put, that's why if you are aware, if you put this, at least it can cover up if there's a bit of a shift. Then if you have a contract, it makes it safer, just in case 30 days, 60 days before that event, you have a meeting with your client to say, I think there are significant shifts. It could be food price, it can change. It could be drinks, it can just have this significant increase. That is have a transparent conversation with the client. So when you have contracts, when you have contingency plans, also factor on the risk that can come up in between, then I think you are kind of slightly covered.
Right.
Yes.
So just the contingency plan. But it's also important for us to talk about what we often see, which is the glamour of the event. You've spoken about guest experience and all of that, which basically is what people term as glamour. But we don't see the business structure behind them. What are some of the biggest operational mistakes that you say can quietly destroy an otherwise successful event business?
What can quietly destroy an otherwise successful business?
What mistakes?
What mistakes? Well, I think the mistakes that can occur that will affect an event from being successful is always the things that happen pre-event, the operational space. Once that is not done properly, it will affect the flow of that event. So what I will say is, for event to be successful, you need to work on your systems. Once that is not done right, it affects everything that happens in the execution, that's on the day of the event. So looking at that's with having the right vendors. When you don't have the right vendors, there's a problem, because our event space is all about ecosystem. I want to work with network of businesses, network of professionals, network of trained hands that understand it. That's what makes our business the outcome looks good. So if this is not done right, then we already have a problem. So now that we're not having people, we're not designing experiences, and now we're not having people even come into event production, that's quite sensitive. You need to be careful. You need to watch out for the health. You need to watch out for security. You need to watch out for technical glitches. So you need to have the right technical team on ground. You need to have the right master of ceremony that understand what you're trying to do. Not just someone that wakes up and say, I want to be a master of ceremony. So it's quite different. So all of this can actually cause a bit of glitches or can make our event unsuccessful. And also creating hospitality is very key in our business. So if you don't have the right team that understand hospitality, then your event might be unsuccessful, depending on what even your clients define as successful.
Right. I think that answers it, because we know that this industry is quite competitive.
Yes.
We've seen new planners, new decorators, new vendors emerging every day. They're entering the market. What would you say separates a professional event company from someone who simply just knows how to put together a beautiful event?
So what separates a professional event company to someone that can just plan an event, to someone that can design an experience? Two different things. Is what we call proper pricing, having the right contract, having the right structure, the systems, having the right hands, having the right the right hands all together. When you have all of that together, knowing how logistics works, knowing how to sit down, understand what the client wants, because we're now in a market where clients are also very well aware. They're not in the dark. So most of the time your clients are far ahead. They are seeing things in different spaces. So they come to you, they're asking you should be on top of it. So if you don't have that, you can't create the right experience. You can plan an event, organize. That's what they've been doing. Just decorate and make sure that you follow instruction. But an event professional is someone that is now bringing value. You are competing with value, not competing with price anymore. Value of what you are bringing to the table. Value on how the client, are you bringing what the client wants to feel about their event? Are you able to ensure that the guests that these clients are bringing in are able to come into that event and remember it appropriately, just the way the client wants or the stakeholders want, even in the corporate, or how the brand of a company wants it, their business objective or their brand to be perceived. So that distinct an event professional from just an event planner that is just coming up. No, not even coming up. We have a lot of them. The event planners, but a professional that is trained will design the event with the right people, knows how to recruit the right people that can come together and implement the right things. A good example is the popular one that we just saw recently, the wedding, Bella and Jarvis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something like that. It's just some details. See the cake designer. You see, there's a different around that. Just to bring that into.
So you say that? Are you saying that was professionally planned?
Well, professionally planned. Professionally planned, because there's no how you can have that done without. But that's us seeing it from the outside. The next thing is the guest telling us what he felt. On the media, that's where everybody was feeling about it.
Right.
Yes.
Let's talk about the media.
Yes.
Technology and social media has completely changed how events are marketed and experienced, and how much they're even influencing what clients now expect from event professionals. From your perspective, you've been doing this for a while, what would you say has changed with the advent of technology and social media in what clients now expect from events?
With technology right now, it's no longer like an add-on. Social media has made technology in events become part of the experience. But it's not meant to be the experience, but it's not becoming part of the experience. So because of that, it's making most of our clients to demand so much more. The demand of what they expect in terms of execution is quite higher. And so because it's higher, then we need to keep up with the desires of the clients and desires of guests too, because now they can see things. So that means the client can come to us and see certain things on Instagram and wants us to replicate. But now our job as event professionals is saying, yes, we can replicate, but we cannot replicate it the way this and this was done for this and this event. But we can replicate it to suit your objective, either for a brand or suit your objective for you as a client, to see what kind of audience are you bringing, what kind of guests are coming for your event, what is your personality, how are you perceived to the public. And so the way you are perceived, we have to bring it into the event, so also put it into the event plan, while still looking at what it is that you liked, that you shared with us from maybe Pinterest or TikTok, but ensuring that it suits your personality. Because if you go bring a particular kind of
concepts that you saw on Pinterest, or you saw on TikTok, or you saw on Instagram, and just put it into and just slap it and just dive it into your event. It might not bring out the final beauty or professionalism in that work, but our work is to sit down, look at it, and say, okay, we accept that you like this, but let's listen to you. Let's understand you as you and what it covers, and now infuse it and allow it get into your kind of thing. Then we can now move, and with that, people can experience the event and know that it's not separate from the personality of the client or the stakeholders involved, or even the businesses that the brand, whatever business brand is, something like that. I don't know if it answers.
I think you're basically saying that what I hear is that you're saying that social media, like you make use of social media to sort of see a client's personality. But I also wanted to know, what if the client is not on social media? I think I wanted to know how technology and social media influences how you plan your event. So maybe somebody would say that now with technology, maybe they make use of AI to do some things. It helps them to ease in and all of that. So I guess that's what I'm thinking that many people want to know.
Okay, yes. So with technology, now you're saying, what I was saying about social media was not us looking at the clients for their social media account. No, saying that sometimes the client actually show us what they want from social media, because the social media is out there. So that makes most clients, that's why I think their desires are more, because now with social media, with technology, they can see things more. So they are demanding for things they see on social media and bring it to our table and say, what I just saw on social media about this event, I think I would like to replicate it for my own event. That's what I was trying to say. But now with event technology, we have to evolve. Now things are virtually, AI is now on top of the game. So with AI now, we are able to come into a space where our clients, we can show them a bit of what we want to create almost immediately. They can see it like it's real, and they say, okay, this is where we are headed to. So how do we work in event industry? We have what we call the mood board. So the mood board with AI is faster.
Yes.
It makes it so fast. So what technology has done for us is making our work smarter and faster, and also building a sense of reliability from our clients. So when clients come and say they want this and this and this, with AI we can just do all of that and bring it to life and show them that this is where you're headed to. This is the guest journey you're looking at. Like, oh, brilliant. And so AI has made our work very fast to present to clients. We're still learning more because we're starting to catch up. There's a whole lot to catch up in the AI space, but this is what we've been able to do so far, being able to present. And even in the virtual space, we're able to now use AI to project our work in a very good way. Yes.
My final question will be, looking ahead, where are some of the opportunities? Where are some of the biggest opportunities that you're seeing in Nigeria's events industry? And what would you say needs to change for it to become more structured and a more sustainable business ecosystem for everyone?
Wow, that is quite dicey. So when we talk about the opportunities right now in the Nigerian event ecosystem, we are not yet there. Nigeria is very good. We have great, wonderful things we are doing in the event. So it's a creative space. So we have well talented people that have talent doing things. But now the opportunity that is available now is for us to build a sustainable business around our creativity. And that's where the challenge is. A lot of times event professionals are not building sustainable business structure around the events. In the event space. So we have culture, we have everything. We have creativity, we have the right culture, we have the tourism development, we have everything that can make events work well. So the opportunity now is for government, for our government policies should be made, private owners and private stakeholders should look into creating infrastructures for us and helping us come into a space where we can build sustainable business in the event space, not just creating events and just it's moving, but now making it sustainable, that in the long run, business people, owners of events business, event companies can now sit down and say, yes, I have a sustainable business with the right hands,
and with the right hands and the right team to push that whatever happens, they can sustain. So the session event is what it should be running. It's what we can start. These are opportunities now. We can push, Africans, our Nigerians in diaspora, our Africans in diaspora. We can use what we are doing now. Once we build a sustainable business around it, to push them to come to Nigeria, to come to Lagos, Abuja. It should not become a place where we're just having parties. We're meant to evolve into a business that allows for for growth, which means Nigerians are coming to the African diasporas can come into our country, not for parties alone, but to have an experience of our culture, our fashion, our food through events. But this cannot be done if you're not building sustainable business, if you're not doing proper pricing, if there's no industry standards yet in the space, if we don't have the right policies to protect us, if we don't have the right infrastructure. A good example was that there was a client that we had that we did a virtual launch of what she wanted to do. But in terms of the physical launch, she decided to go to South Africa. Why? Because we don't have the right infrastructure in venues that could push that kind of event. So we are not yet there. We still need to work on that. So that can be done by the support of the government, giving us the right infrastructures. The support of the government also helping us to start building standards in the industry. When we have standards, people will have the proper pricing standard that should run in events. So it's not about having cheaper decorators, cheaper planners. It's not that anymore. Now the competition should be professionalism. What value are the event professionals bringing? That should be our competition. So with that, we can be a sustainable business, because where we're headed to, the future of the Nigerian event business is professionalism, professional experience. People want to have professional experience now. At least an average Nigerian wants a professional experience of their event, and that means any event planner is not about, they're looking at value. What can you bring to this table that we are bringing you onto, and how to change all of what they have in their head into the experience that they have and beyond. Why clients will want an event professional is that they want you to do things that they can't do themselves. They have the idea, but bringing it to life the way they want it has to be done by us.
So basically the opportunities are around infrastructure, creating more infrastructure for the business of event, the event ecosystem. Well, thank you so much, Ori Moses, for joining us this morning on Business Morning Live. It was very insightful having this conversation with you. I was just speaking with Ori Moses, founder and head of event curation at strategy at Perfecto Events. She's an event curator and strategist. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Business Morning Live. Still have more conversations coming up. Do stay with us.